our account. So I think that's perfect.
Perfect. It sounds pretty cool. I don't know how I'd find it without Megan's help. So who wants to start? I'll just start with Lizzie on my left of the screen.
So we're getting ready to welcome back in-person kiddos at our Head Start sites at the Neighborhood Center, Valley, HHA, and our out-of-town sites. And we're going to have 8 kids in the class, and that's due to the COVID restrictions. Staff will be wearing masks. The children are not required to. Our other sites at Eastgate and Raby York are going to welcome their kids back. Is it October 5th, Jamie, that they start? And that'll be the same deal, 8 kids in a class, the staff are wearing masks. And then we have room left for children who want to be in our remote learning option, and they'll get a lot of support from Head Start for lesson packets, school to home projects, health support, vision screening, language screening, hearing screen, family advocate support. And there's going to be a dedicated remote learning teacher just for the children in the remote option. And that starts October 5th also. And we still have room for kids in that part of our program, and we'd really like to fill up. So if you think a family is income eligible, send them our way.
And what is the same between the kids that are in the actual brick and mortar classrooms and are in the remote classrooms is the supports they get through the family services and the family engagement pieces. So all of that remains, that's the advantage. And they can still then, if you have families that they really need their child somewhere for some sort of childcare on top of that, this year families can be in another childcare or preschool setting and be a Head Start family with that remote learning option. And that is like very rare. That's one thing that will stop as soon as COVID is done and we're in phase 3. That won't be the case anymore. And so there's some advantage to that, especially people with home visiting. We can be a part of that team. And what we would do if they're in the home visiting realm and already with you, working with you, we don't do anything new. All we are is a supplement of support and work in collaboration on that team. And so I am really hoping that we can do some pretty magical stuff on that family support level, especially with those remote learning families.
And the remote learning isn't going to be like it is in the school district where you have to like log in at a certain time every Tuesday, or it's going to be strictly at the parents' schedule. So whatever works for them. So like they don't have to be available, like, you know, to join a class at a certain time or anything like that. So it is like Jamie said, it's really flexible. You can definitely work around your schedule.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm just going to jump in after Lizzie. So I'm Jamie. I'm the Family Community Partnerships Manager for Rocky and Head Start. And the other, so what we're really delving into right now is in our Whitehall, Townsend, Boulder, East Holland, and Helena communities, I really want to focus on our resource connections. So as we're going to be working close with Julie, she's got me trained to train the advocates now, but she's also now going to start working with our Jefferson County and Broadwater County family advocate teachers to get them in connection with the Connect system. And we are going to be calling and different, so like with the home visiting program, making sure we have the best and updated and comparing that to the Connect. And we're doing that this fall to really start building our resource directory and figuring out what is real out there in our community right now and what is just a really pretty front that looks good, but there's nothing behind it. And we want to help put something behind that if we can, move the needle on that somehow, or not make referrals to places that are empty. There's enough frustration in this world right now without putting families through that. So our focus is there. We're pretty cool. We have, for the first time in my knowledge of history, we have a 50-50 representation in Family Services Department of people whose pronouns are he and people whose pronouns are she. And so it's going to be pretty cool for fatherhood engagement. I'm pretty excited about this. And just for all of us, it's a shift of energy. We're sad to see one of our teammates moving on into a different direction in life. But we're excited with the team, and we have one brand new family advocate. So our caseloads are lower. So 3 of our advocates are only supporting 32 families, which for us, when I say only, that's down from 64. So that's a significant decrease for us, and we're really excited about it. So Lizzie still is carrying 3 because she's the senior FA, and so she's got the highest caseload of everybody. But so I think that in terms of possible collaborations, definitely with Connect, we're in the process of doing that still, and then reaching out just as we're investigating the community partnerships that are out there. We'll report back what we're finding, but we'll also be connecting with you. Ms. Harley.
Hi, I'll do a quick thing because I have some time at the end. My name's Harley. I work at Montana Legal Services, and I'm the Health Justice Project Coordinator. So similarly, my role is to connect with local communities as we're a statewide organization in regards to legal aid. So, and especially a focus on working with families with young children.
Awesome. I'm so glad you're with us. Thanks for coming today, Harley.
Thanks.
Now I'm going to go down in my screen. So Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Sartori. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at Montana No Kid Hungry, which is based here in Helena. And I was chatting with Mary earlier this week about an initiative that we have and some recruiting that we're doing for that initiative that will probably relate with the population that all of you guys work with. And so she invited me to come on the task force meeting today and give a little spiel about it. And so I don't really know when the right time for that is, but I'll wait until Jamie is on me. So
yeah, let's go through introductions, and then I think Rachel and Harley, you kind of in a really cool way complement each other at this meeting today. So
cool.
Yeah, we'll go over to who would be in middle, Miss Julie.
Hey everyone, Julie Burr, Connect Coordinator with Lewis and Clark Public Health. I'm going to talk about projects working on this grant, which has most of you on the call helping me with that. Thank you all so much. And for everyone else, this grant project is to focus the work of Connect with early childhood focused agencies and really try to get the Connect system really streamlined and smoothed out. Also, FYI, it's Suicide Prevention Month. There is a talk Tuesday night called Moms Are Not Immune, which I imagine you all are aware of, in case you're not. That'll be interesting, and there's a bunch of other good stuff happening with Suicide Prevention Month with their QPR trainings and things like that. That's info from Public Health. I think that's it. Oh, Lunch and Learn, sorry. Lunch and Learn Friday, September 25th from Connect. Lizzie and, oh gosh, is Jennifer the new family advocate you guys have?
Yeah.
They had requested focus on agencies providing mental health services. So we'll have that coming at the end of September. I need to send out an email about that. But,
that is awesome. Thank you for putting that request in, Lizzie. Way to go.
Yeah. Yep. So everyone's welcome, even if you yourself are not on Connect with your agency. So let me know if you don't have the info and you want it.
Would it be helpful? Is there a way, Haley and Megan, if Julie sent that information that we could include it in our minutes for people to connect that way? Or how would be the best way for Julie to bring us all into that circle?
For the lunch and learn or the, yeah.
Any and all of it, but with other people's upcoming events, what do we think of that too? I don't know about the calendar, or this might not be the forum to talk about it, but with people got stuff popping with the suicide awareness information along with the lunch and learns, maybe we can put that in the parking lot of how to best share out of this. And Rachel's coming up with the Amplify Montana stuff, and anything Legal Aid is coming up with. That would be cool to somehow have connected to all of this, an easy place to go.
Yeah, we're starting to put a lot of it on the Facebook, and then we're actually working on a way for people who visit the website to submit their events to like a community calendar, so that the admins still have the ability to kind of make sure nothing bad ends up on there. But then people can say, hey, I have this event coming up, and it'll start showing up on our calendar, which just makes it a more central location.
All right, thank you. All right, Haley.
I'm Haley. I'm really excited to see all these new faces here. I am the Safe Care home visitor for Aware, and I have a lot of space on my caseload, so I will probably be doing a lot of outreach to some of you after this, talking about home visiting and what Safe Care is, and then our other home visiting programs. As far as, and I think that's just the biggest update I have. I'm trying to see my notes here. I don't really have anything besides that. So yeah, thank you for coming.
And when I would love for you to come and we can talk. I'm thinking almost, what if we did early Head Start together? Maybe it's just a thought I'm throwing out. But the other piece is one of my questions I would have right out of the chute is, what does it look like to be involved in Safe Care right now remotely? And again, I know we're time limited here, but that would be something I would want us to be able to tell our parents when we're connecting them with you.
Yep.
Is what that support feels like during the COVID times.
So I am just reaching out to families, and we kind of do it week by week. So, you know, one week I'll have a family that has a kiddo with a stuffy nose, and then that week we'll just do a virtual visit. It's kind of whatever the parent's comfortable with at the time that I'm scheduling those meetings. And I have a lot of families, like, we'll meet at the park and just, you know, social distance, and I have screening questions and everything. And some families, I meet them in their front yard. It just depends on what the family's comfort level is. Some I'm just doing just strictly virtual, and some just get phone calls. So whatever, I'm flexible in just meeting families where they're at right now.
Right on. And if we just, you know, if we end up sharing any families and you're comfortable with it, I don't know how we're doing it. We've set up a place that's right outside my office here that we can meet one-on-one with families, social distanced, inside. So when the weather turns, that would be a possibility. Just throwing that out there, because we're not actually going in homes either. We're doing the same thing that you are right now.
Yeah, I would be totally comfortable with that. We can talk about that.
Excellent. Another good collaboration.
Yay.
All right, Miss Mary.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Desiree. I'm so happy to see you here. Desiree and I worked together at Family Outreach once upon a time. Let's see. So updates. With the Nurse Family Partnership Program, we are a little bit low in numbers right now. It's not awful, but we could certainly take on some more pregnant women for home visiting. Parents as Teachers is pretty full at the moment. Of course, we would never deny a family. Likely, if either of the home visitors for Parents as Teachers couldn't take on another family, what we would do is ask them if they'd be interested in doing Safe Care. So it'd help out Haley's caseload and Amber's caseload over at Florence Crittenton. So, but between Florence Crittenton and the health department, Parents as Teachers is pretty full. We're also looking for new referrals for our Montana asthma program. That's another home visiting program. And I should mention that all of our home visits are virtual visits right now. We are not doing even open air visits at this time. So it is all virtual. But for families in the asthma program, that they typically receive some items like not a humidifier, HEPA filter, and some bedding that can help reduce the triggers of asthma in the home. So that program's a little bit low. It is for anybody that has a primary diagnosis of asthma. They do not have to have an income requirement. It used to be for just children, but now it's adults as well. So if you know anybody with asthma who's struggling, certainly send them our way. Let's see, what else? We do have a new breastfeeding coordinator hired. I don't know if I've announced that to this team before. Her name is Charity Krebs, and she lives in Townsend. And she started with us technically in June, right in the middle of all this mess. And she is available to help with breastfeeding difficulties. They do have to qualify for WIC to be in that program. So, but if you know anybody, please shoot them our way. I think that might be about it right now. Circle of Securities always full. Greg is always busy. He's doing the 7 Generations program as well, working with those incarcerated parents who are incarcerated and their caregivers and the children. So that's a nutshell. I think that's it.
Mary, with those families that are getting, because since everybody's getting virtual support, what if a family is
Yeah.
do you provide devices, or is that a challenge at all in terms of getting the devices for this virtual support?
Everything we're using is available. The family can use their phone to do that. That has been a challenge for a couple of families, in which case we have been able to provide them with a phone, but that's really the only thing that has come up. It's only really, I think there may have only been one family that we had to do that for, or we have bought like time, or the time cards or something to add onto their phone so they have more minutes on their phone to do a visit, that kind of thing.
So is it mainly talking, or is it the FaceTime?
Always FaceTime, yeah. I mean, certainly there are times where we have to do just a phone visit, but it's FaceTime. We're using a platform called Doxy or Zoom, and it was working.
Is Doxy free too?
There is a free version of it, and we're considering going to the not free version of it. We'll have to see how long this is going to continue. We're kind of trying to hold off to see if we didn't have to purchase that, but so far it's working with everybody, and I have no idea when we'll be able to get back in person. We're following the guidelines that were given out by the Nurse Family Partnership, which is really the only one that gave us really clear guidelines on how to do a virtual visit, or how or guidelines, I guess, around seeing families. And so and they're the ones that are saying no in-person visits, so we're following that.
Well, as we start going further, I might
challenging.
be reaching out to you, Mary, just to support as we're doing more virtual time with our families too, because this is, yeah, I might need
Sure.
your support and help on that. So just kind of technical challenges with so many Zoom meetings
Yeah.
happening at once, it doesn't really work that well. So, all right, thank you. Miss Megan.
Yeah, right. I know it. Uh-huh.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Megan Peters. I'm the AmeriCorps Vista that supports the Early Childhood Coalition. So I support all the different task forces, but for home visiting, we've been working on a project that was started by a couple of the task force members, and they put together a really great model for like a peer-to-peer support system. And so we've been working through that, which is an exciting project. And then the other update that I could probably share is I met a home visitor with parents as teachers yesterday, who wants to start talking through some family engagement possibilities, which ties into a project I have for the Early Care and Education Task Force as well. So hopefully that conversation sparks some ideas that would make sense for more people in the group. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice, thank you. And Ms. Desiree.
Hi, yes, I'm Desiree TG. I'm from Family Outreach, and this is my first time on this group, so I'm just kind of listening and learning and excited to meet you guys.
We're very excited to have you here, Desiree. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're an easy group, so just throw questions out whenever and comments and all that other good stuff. Now we come to a very wonderful part of the meeting, the good story part. And that just means, does anybody have any good stories to share? And a good story would be considered a successful collaboration, a positive outcome, just something that lifts our spirits, a little chicken soup for the home visiting soul, shall we say. Come on,
I've got
I'm
one
hungry.
I can share.
Yay.
Well, Katie is our Parents as Teachers home visitor, and she has been working with a mom who had previously lost several of her children to Child Protective Services, and she got involved with Parents as Teachers. She also went through drug treatment court, family treatment court. I always get the name of that wrong. And she's been able to get off of drugs and keep her remaining 2 children in the home, and is about to graduate from services. So it's pretty exciting.
That is a very good story. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Any others? All right. Well, that is a very, very good story. 2 very difficult challenges to overcome. It's good to see when it happens.
I will say one more thing, Jamie.
Yeah.
One other thing. A lot of us in home visiting were pulled off of our regular duties to do COVID stuff, and they have since hired several people to do some of the contact tracing, and so we get to go back to our regular duties. Ray and Marissa, who are the nurses, they still have to do 1 day out of their week responding to calls for COVID, but the rest of us get to go back to just our normal job, which made me realize how easy my job is. I always thought it was kind of stressful, but really, I mean, after trying to do your normal job and contact trace, you know, that's really, really challenging. So
Right on.
anyway, we're back to semi-normal.
That's good. That's good. Slow but sure. That comparative gratitude really does have a place in the world sometimes. That is good. So this next part of our agenda is us discussing anything needed from the task force for our next report. And I'm gonna give that to Haley. Do we need anything for our next report?
I don't think there's really anything specific. I generally just kind of do a little summary of all of the minutes. So I don't think so. Megan, what do you think? I don't think there's anything specific.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's my first quarterly report season, so we'll see if there's anything we learn from it.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Then we're just right on schedule again, thanks to that. So now we're on to project work. So this will be, I love how you put these in order because we can go really quick. So I want to move materials from Child Care Connections over to Lewis and Clark Public Health. So I need to coordinate with Megan, and I'll need to call Brandy, and I'll also probably bring Lizzie with me so she can be my feet and hands. I don't really even know how much stuff we have to move. So I just needed us to set a goal date on this because I'm really bad at not getting stuff done if I don't have dates behind it. And I'd really love to get that stuff moved over to Megan's. So this is where I need help to put a legit goal on it that's not too soon. So Lizzie, you might be able to rein me in, but my hope was that sometime between now and 2 weeks from today, we could make that happen. Does that sound doable?
Are we looking at like a carload or a truckload or?
Carload.
A carload, okay.
Yeah.
I blocked off some time to help next week with that. We have another staff member coming into this space on the 22nd, and so it's probably going to make sense to get everything in before that. So that
heck yeah, we
fewer
need to
overlap.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about
Jamie, I could do stuff next Thursday. That's probably the only day I've got open that I could be moving stuff. Do you want to say we'll have it done by the 18th and you and I will aim for the 17th?
that? Sounds good. Megan, do you do the maternal mental health group? Do you go to that meeting, Megan?
Yeah, next Thursday's a little crazy because it's got the maternal mental health task force and a grant writing workshop. But what I can do to make it simpler for you guys is I have a lot of free time the day before, so I can head over there and box everything up so that it's already put together on Wednesday, and then it should be easy to move over on Thursday.
Okay, and I can meet you there. So what time on Wednesday, and I'll meet you there?
Anytime between 10 and 2.
Let's do 10 o'clock.
Perfect.
And then I'll call Brandy to make sure she's ready for us. And all right, perfect. And then Lizzie and I will figure out a time on Thursday to do it, to load it into our car. If we, would it be better on Friday for us to actually drive it over to you, Megan? So if 1 o'clock on Friday, does that work to bring it to you at 1 o'clock on Friday?
Oh yeah, I have nothing next Friday.
So Jamie, next Friday at 1, I have a visit set up with parents. Do you need me, or are we still doing our stuff Thursday?
We'll do it Thursday. Then if you
Okay.
can just help me get it into the car Thursday, we can keep it maybe in the van overnight.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
So you and I'll coordinate our Thursday after the meeting of when to get it.
gotcha.
All right, perfect. Check, check, done. Feels good.
What do you
Okay.
guys, what's that final day so I can put it in the notes here? Is it Wednesday at 10 that you're moving it?
Wednesday at 10, Megan and I will meet to get it packed up and ready to move.
Okay.
And we'll have it, I'll get it over to the place by 1 on Friday.
Yep. So it should be set up by end of next week, which is super exciting.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, the peer support group work.
Because that's me and Megan. Let's see, where do we start? We just met yesterday. Was that yesterday or Tuesday? All these days are running together. And kind of talked about like what we'd be looking for in the program, kind of like if we need to do personality tests, how we're going to pair home visitors together, what agencies we want to reach out to see who wants to participate. Let's see. what else? How we would navigate if there's like a conflict, if home visitors are just kind of saying this is not really what I'm interested in, what our timeline would look like, how long we'd keep those partnerships in place, you know. What am I missing, Megan?
No, I think that's a good overview. The kind of next steps is we're going to put together a communication plan of like how do we tell people about the program, and then start putting together kind of those materials that allow them to apply, so to speak, and get matched. And then from there, it's really figuring out what are the tools and information to support people in those relationships. So not necessarily a super formalized training, because the program itself isn't supposed to be super formal, but making sure that there's information there to support everyone in their relationships.
Well, and I know that Jennifer Filipovich, our newest family advocate, is super willing and wants to be a part of this work group. And so what would be easier? Should I put her email in the chat box right now, or just email it to you, Megan? Because when you guys meet next, or you, Haley, pulling Jennifer into that, she's totally wants to be actively part of the work group with you.
Okay, nice. If you just want to put her email in the chat, Megan's usually coordinating those meetings, so.
Okay, I'll do it. I just want to make sure I spell her last name right.
Okay.
Perfect. Oh, I just hid the agenda. Okay. I'm getting back to, well, there it is. Okay. So the next one is check in with each other. Are you trying to trick me, Haley? Did we already do a check-in? Is this a different check-in?
No, I just we did that a couple months ago, and I just like that, just to see how we're all feeling, how
On
we're
a
doing.
personal check-in level.
Yeah, just like, you know.
I love
going?
that as well.
Yeah,
I love that as well. So yeah, go ahead. People can, I kind of did my personal check-in at the beginning. I got a focus of 3, ankle family work, and that's it till my ankle is healed. How's everybody else doing? Mary feels lighter. Maybe we should all do 2 jobs for 3 months, and then we'll all feel better.
Much better. Of course, today there was a protest at the health department. I don't know if you all knew about that, but they're protesting the wearing of masks because, you know, people don't like their masks. So
So they were protesting.
You know,
huh?
Yeah.
Were they? I'm just wondering, were the protesters wearing masks?
I wasn't there, but I'm guessing no. We'll see how many of them get COVID. You know, I didn't think about, you know, you don't realize how this pandemic is happening, how it's really working until you're kind of in the middle of it, and how easily people get sick from each other. Because one of the things that I was dealing with was a family that had 5 members that got sick, and it was just a nightmare. I mean, and we're talking like, you know, ICU stays. So all of that has been very, very heavy on me personally. But like you said, I mean, now I feel a little lighter, at least personally, but I know it's still going on out there. It's tough work, especially when everybody hates you because you have to make them be in quarantine or isolation, even if it's for their own good. But yeah, it's been a tough time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
My heart heart's going out to all the parents and the students out there right now. I don't have any kids in 12 or under grades right now, and I just can't imagine. That's just quite a juggle that people are doing right now. Tough decisions in every direction. I know part of what we're seeing, like families with just little tiny annoyances that might just, you know, be like, are going way up to here of, what do you mean you're 3 minutes late? It's, people are feeling it. People are feeling it. Well, it's not that I don't want us to keep checking in, but I am checking in on the time, and I definitely want to get to Harley and Rachel. So the only other thing is this military strong challenge timeline. We need to get her done, and I'm on that list of getting her done. So do we have an actual date we're supposed to, the challenge is up by, Megan? That's just, what is that date again? I forgot. Is it the 25th?
Yeah, let me pull that up. I think it was a month from when we committed to
September.
it. Yep. So I think probably the end of the month. And so far we have 5 people who registered, 3 completed the training, 2 in progress. We need to hit 10 people because we have 20 possible participants. So we're halfway there. Looks like there's probably a few people on this call that if they sign up, that'll help us out.
I think I'm one of those people. Oh, we'll get that and we'll get her signed up. And then I don't know about the rest of you, but it's helpful to me if you just think about it, Megan. Like reminders are really good for me and they never bug me. Actually, they save me. So anytime you just do a poke, that would be fabulous. And kind of let us know. Maybe we could start. It's no, just where our numbers are at too. I don't know. But it's okay if you call me out, like, Jamie, you need to register right now. And that can be in a big group email. I'm totally good with that. That'll actually motivate me better. So good. We got that one covered. So now we're moving to Harley and Rachel. So how about with this? Let's start with Harley.
Okay. I'll try to keep it short and sweet because I see we're running low on time.
Well, before we rush through, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can everybody give, say, 10 more minutes to this meeting? Can we keep it going till 12:10? Yeah? All right. So then nobody has to rush so much. We got 10 extra minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Awesome. So some people on here have maybe heard of me or my position, or like Julie has talked to me many times now, so it might be a little repetitive. So my name's Harley Brown. I'm actually an AmeriCorps alum, so good on you, Megan. I was an AmeriCorps alum for MLSA back in 2015, up in Great Falls, Montana. But Montana Legal Services, I like to do a little intro into that because I think in early childhood, there's maybe been some interaction or, to refer people to them, but not really understanding what it is that we do and how we help families in Montana. So MLSA is the only nonprofit legal aid provider in Montana. So I think it's important to just have a distinction between civil legal services and a criminal defense attorney. So civil legal aid is something that we don't have a right to in the United States. So you don't have a right to an attorney when you're facing legal issues that still greatly impact your life. And the main ones that we focus on are areas that impact somebody's livelihood. So housing, public benefits, so food access, medical access, things like that. Employment and education, and personal safety, so domestic violence, family law, things like that. And so MLSA has been funded for about 50 years under the same federal granting that gave Head Start and Community Development Block Grant funding in the 60s. So we've been around as a way to address poverty in the United States, the same as a lot of your programs have gotten funding for. But I think legal aid is kind of been siloed in a way because we are different and we are attorneys and we are statewide and not a local resource. Part of that reason is we only get federal funding while most states have state and local funding for individual legal aid in bigger areas. So that's just some background there. In Montana, we have 18 practicing case handling attorneys, which is not enough attorneys to cover the need for legal access in Montana. The legal need is that there's 150,000 Montanans that, based off income alone, qualify for legal aid. And then there's been several studies in a state and a national level that says that people who live in poverty, about 50% have at least one civil legal aid issue every year. And in Montana, a third have 2 or more. And most of those go unaddressed. So out of 150,000, if 75,000 are facing a legal issue, we only had 10,000 requests for assistance in 2018. So that's a lot of people that haven't reached out for services and we're trying to face legal issues alone. And I think most of you know, working in social work, that people who live in poverty are significantly in a position of lower power than other people that they have to interact with, whether that's public benefits offices, their landlords, the people that they're in relationships with, things like that. So what we're really trying to do is balance the power out between our client and the rest of the world that they have to work with. And so that's kind of the base level. Beyond our 18 staff, we have pro bono clinics around the state. So we either coordinate or sponsor all of the pro bono clinics in 10 communities, so including at Law School, and then all the major cities in Montana host a law clinic as well. Those are all remote because of COVID right now. And then we also provide remote legal services and pro bono appointments to people who live in rural communities. We also have attorneys that are working specifically in domestic violence shelters that we have special grants for. So they're not all in our main offices. I'm in our main Helena office. There's also a small office in Missoula and Billings, but we provide services kind of statewide. We don't have attorneys that work with just in like Western Montana or just in Eastern Montana. We're kind of divided by practice area and then we practice across the state. So again, what I'm really here to talk about is how this work interacts with all your clients, and it stems from a partnership we have with healthcare centers around the state. It's a medical legal partnership. So my funding came out of the success we saw working with federally qualified healthcare centers, where we screened patients for health harming legal needs through social determinants of health screenings. So healthcare centers would screen individuals and try to see what social impacts on their lives were affecting their health, because there's been a lot of frustration in the health community that people come in because they're sick, but the thing that's making them sick isn't something a doctor can just help fix for them. Whether that's domestic violence or poor housing like conditions to being houseless, those all impact someone's ability to be healthy. And so what a lot of healthcare providers around the country have done is partner with legal aid in order to get people access to legal services to try to improve whatever is impacting their life. So my job is to also kind of try to do that with social service providers around the state and really expand kind of our reach into agencies or communities like you all, where you work directly with clients and you work at a local level, unlike us where we're on a statewide level. So I guess the main points that I want to talk about are the ones that we screen at our healthcare center. So legal issues that your families might have that you or they might not think of as a legal issue. So in income, we have appeal of denial of food stamps or medical benefits or TANF or anything like that. Even a denial of like a drop in services or saying that there's been an overpayment. I think it's important to talk about public benefits because even though there's really specific rules and regulations in place, these providers, they're really complicated rules and procedures. So they're not always fair, or they're not always done properly. I know like when I was in AmeriCorps and getting food stamps, there were times where I had never been on public benefits. So I didn't know about the every 6-month recertification that I qualified for public benefits and things like that. And I really panicked because I knew how little money I had. And if you have a family or other people you're supporting, how scary that can be. And I was working part of legal aid already at that point. And so I think that's a really important thing to note. Housing and utilities, I think especially in COVID times, we are seeing a real focus on trying to keep people housed. I'm going to post a bunch of information in the chat box later, and that includes a lot of information about the new CDC moratorium on evictions and how families can notify their landlords that they qualify for that. And then I'm also posting information from the emergency housing assistance program that the state is running to give people money for their mortgage or for their rent. NeighborWorks partnered with Department of Commerce for this really cool program where they're basically becoming case managers to help people navigate the application process, because even though that $50 million in aid has been available since April, by the end of July, they'd only distributed 2% of it. And part of that was that they couldn't process the applications, or they weren't full applications, or they couldn't get a hold of people. So the state was really trying to figure out a way to have more of an impact on the community. So NeighborWorks is working on doing that case management. And then we work closely with NeighborWorks to see if there's any really specific legal issues around housing that people have coming up. So I'll link to that as well. Employment and education. So what we try to do as well is we secure any specialized educational services or employment services, making sure that people have their employee rights upheld, kind of looped in with that, and public benefits. We saw a significant increase in people applying for unemployment benefits when COVID hit. I think we had a webinar about it back in April or May, and it was like a few 100% increase in applications for services for unemployment. And there's just things that a lot of people didn't know they had to do, and unemployment was kind of a mess with the state, and people were getting denial letters for traditional unemployment and then getting sent letters that they qualified for COVID unemployment. They weren't applying for weekly benefits, so they would call us months later and lose ability to collect on any of that money. So there's just a lot of things that I think legal aid helps people with, and part of that is making sure that people understand their rights and understand how they can collect on that. And then personal safety, pretty easy. Domestic violence is probably one of our biggest practice areas because there's a lot of federal money in it. So we have a lot of attorneys that work around family law cases with domestic violence as a connection to it, and making sure that people have a safe place to live. And so we do some parenting plans, some divorces, protection orders, some will and estate planning, advanced directives, and other family law issues. So those are kind of our big practice areas that are probably impacting your families. I'm also going to plug a couple of websites we have. So montanalawhelp.org is a really great website that's built for like lay people to go to and kind of figure out what their legal rights are, some legal information, and a lot of fillable forms. So we have a whole COVID specific section that includes resources for like how to let your landlord know you can't pay rent, what your rights are, like how to inform them that you qualify under the CDC directive, and notifying them that they can't evict you. Landlords will still try to evict people, and we know that because a lot of the times there's this shady kind of relationship between a landlord and a tenant where like they might, the landlord might be breaking some rules, but then the tenant still has somebody living there who's not supposed to be living on the lease. And then that's a reason to evict somebody that's not covered under the CDC eviction. So what we're going to see is still like these shady ways that landlords are evicting people for non-payment, but calling it something else. And so I think, legal aid can really step in, because even though we don't take a lot of cases to court, just having an attorney present can kind of level the playing field as far as like mediating between a landlord and a tenant. So usually that's what we're doing, is more mediation. And we have an attorney who specifically works with people who have special like federal vouchers and things that a normal attorney would not be able to advise on. So that's some kind of basic information about us. I also am just plugging that my position is just fully outreach and education based. So I'm working with a lot of organizations in the state to build formal referral processes between legal aid and their organization, and then also try to do a lot of outreach and education about what services are available, and consulting with agencies that are maybe like having a common question or concern come up, and how legal aid can kind of inform all of the staff at your organization so you're better equipped when you're working with families. Any questions for me?
Well, with that, I'm going to ask Rachel for you just to kind of leap in. And I think this connection everyone will see it when Rachel is done with her presentation, but this is very fortuitous that you two are on here at the same time.
Sure. Yeah, so I think that I know most of you guys. I sort of wasn't expecting that to happen, but I think I've met most of you guys in person at one point or another. And so everyone here is in Helena, or like works within the Lewis and Clark County area. Okay. Good for me to know. So yeah, so I'm the community engagement coordinator at Montana No Kid Hungry, based here in Helena. And we are mostly a childhood food security organization. So we work with federal food programs like school breakfast, summer meals. We provide school districts and communities with logistical support to start up programs if they don't have one. So to get school breakfast within their district, to establish a summer meal site so that kids can access food when school's not in session. We work with school districts to improve nutrition, that kind of stuff. Right now in COVID, we're doing a lot of like emergency relief grants for districts. And there's been a huge increase in need because schools are like totally floundering right now, trying to figure out how they're going to serve food to kids who are there and also not there, who are distance learning. So that's kind of an overview of No Kid Hungry. And I am in charge, like I said, of our community engagement work. So I oversee our initiative called Amplify Montana. And it is an initiative that was modeled after some of the work of some food banks and some other food security nonprofits on the East Coast, who were trying to transition from being solely emergency food relief focused to trying to address hunger on a more systemic level through leadership development with their clients, through grassroots community organizing and public action, through teaching advocacy skills and doing more policy stuff with their clients. And so we've kind of taken that on essentially with Amplify Montana. And it's essentially a grassroots initiative to build the leadership and advocacy skills of people who have experienced poverty or food insecurity firsthand. And we started in 2018 with in Helena. Jamie and Head Start was a big partner of making that happen. Thanks, Jamie. And then we did it in Bozeman as well as the Flathead Valley throughout 2019. And kind of how we got started with this was just doing focus group conversations. So we had a focus group at Head Start. Lizzie, I think you fed us our chili dinner that night, or someone on staff helped out with that. But yeah, we hosted focus groups at Head Start, at Helena Food Share, at Good Samaritan, at the YWCA, various organizations, and just kind of talked with community members about their experience in the community and what challenges they faced and how they were personally affected by them. And basically the biggest feedback that we got, the most common theme amongst all of them, was people's frustration with the stigma and the stereotypes that come with living in poverty, and just really kind of a lack of community understanding on what that looks like and what really causes poverty, and who really experiences it. And so that's from there, we designed our Speakers Bureau training, which is kind of the main component of Amplify Montana. And we marketed it based on what we heard from our focus groups. So we said, hey, we are offering this training. This is what we heard you guys say. Through this, you can learn skills to kind of tell your story, craft your own narrative, learn about advocacy, and be able to advocate on your own behalf about the things that you're affected by, the issues that affect you. And so the Speakers Bureau itself is a 9-week training. 4 of the sessions are focused on public speaking, and we partner with Toastmasters to do that. There's a storytelling session that we partner with like a theater group to do, and it's pretty fun. There's an advocacy session where we bring a legislator in, which is always everybody's highlight. Most people have never met a legislator before. I had never met a legislator until I started facilitating these. But we work with folks throughout the 9 weeks to really practice these skills. And at the end, we have a big culminating event where people can share their story to an audience. Typically decision makers and people who are leaders in the community are invited. And we usually have about 70 or 80 folks who show up to those. And the training is kind of just the first step. So after that, we work with people to stay engaged as much as we can. So we've brought some of our graduates to out-of-state conferences on scholarships. They've spoken at the legislature. A bunch of them did a lobby day last session. Some of them have spoken at like community poverty simulations and different sort of educational workshops. Julie, I think you saw Farrell speak at the poverty simulation in Helena. So that's kind of an overview on what it's all about. And we are going to be offering another training coming up pretty soon. It's starting in 3 weeks. The week of September 28th is when our next round is going to be getting started. And again, it's going to run for 8 weeks or so. So it'll end the week of November 16th. And then the following week is Thanksgiving, which we're going to take a break that week. And then our culminating event will be the following week of November 30th. And it's all going to be online this time, so there will be some adaptations because of COVID. Our sessions are usually like 2.5 hours. Now they're going to be an hour and a half on Zoom. And the days and times have not been determined yet because we try to base it off of our participants' availability. So we recruit first, and then we set the day and time later based on when everybody is free. And given that it's online, we know that like technology is a barrier for folks. So we have some tablets for people to borrow and Wi-Fi hotspots if they don't have access to Wi-Fi. There's a limited supply, not everyone can have them, but I'm trying to get access to more. It's crazy how many people need hotspots right now. And they're pretty hard to come by. So yeah, we have tablets and Wi-Fi hotspots for folks to borrow. There's an incentive, which is people get a $10 gift card every week for participating. It's usually like a grocery gift card or a gift card for gas. And then there's a $100 Visa gift card at the end as a thank you for participating, because we really believe in compensating folks for their time. Anytime someone speaks at one of our events, we compensate them because we're all on paid time to be here now, right? So other people deserve compensation as well. And so, yeah, I was chatting with Mary because I was trying to make a connection with home visiting here in Lewis and Clark County. And she was like, oh, you should speak at our task force meeting. And so essentially, if any of you guys have families or individuals who you work with who you think might be interested in something like this, who might be interested in being an advocate, who have opinions about things, who might be interested in building community, please, I can put my email in the chat and we can maybe talk a little bit more offline on how you go about. I have talking points and things like that that can make it really easy to just pick up the phone and invite somebody. But it's usually a really rewarding experience. I think the trainings are a lot of fun. Most of the time people don't come out of it saying, I love public speaking. And you know, people don't come out of it having like mastered any of these skills, but they definitely, we have a lot of people who give qualitative feedback around like just, you know, the good that comes with like meeting other people in similar situations. And a lot of people have said like, oh, I never knew that I always thought I was the only one who struggled. I had never really made friends or talked about like my situation with other people. And a lot of people feel like less shame around their experiences and just more confidence. And it's pretty amazing to see the transformation that takes place sometimes, and just the power that someone can really feel when they are able to express their needs to a decision maker. It's not something that we have ready access to. So we're trying to bridge that gap and really make sure that people who have lived experience are at the forefront of decision making in Montana. And this is a very crucial time, obviously, because our election is coming up and the next legislative session is happening in January, in which case funding for probably much of what we care about is going to be at risk. So this is a really important time for grassroots engagement. So that's kind of my spiel. I'm going to put my email in the chat here, and I hope that some of you will reach out to me and say, oh, I know someone who would be a great fit for this. How do I recruit them? And I can talk more offline.
Rachel, is this open to folks outside Lewis and Clark?
Good question. So like I mentioned, the communities where Amplify Montana exists right now is Lewis and Clark County, Bozeman, and the Flathead. That doesn't mean that it's like off limits to people outside of those communities. It just means that we don't have a host organization there. And so when it comes to being able to speak or engage on a very local level, I probably wouldn't be able to connect them to anything, kind of like how you saw Farrell speak at the poverty simulation. However, they probably could still join and then be a part of our advocacy efforts this upcoming legislative session if they want to be. It would just be a more unique experience because they won't have a cohort in their own community like the people in Helena and Bozeman and the Flathead have. But it's not a no for sure, as long as that individual kind of knows what they're getting themselves into.
Sure.
And for me, listening, like those issues that Montana Legal Services is covering and those civil issues that Harley was talking about are right, especially when we're talking about the benefits and things like that, are right in the same alley of this is what Rachel's talking about, and getting the voices, amplifying the voices of people who are living through it. So I thought that was a pretty neat connection between the two of you. And you might even know who knows, Harley, with your outreach, people that might be like, I want to do this. I know a woman that I met through going through one of those. I'm going to talk to and see if she wants to be a part of your group, Rachel, for this next training session. But the families that I've known, the speakers that I've known that it went through this has made a change in the way in which they see themselves, the community, and their role in the community. And that is priceless. And that has been, and they were great go-to people for my own selfish reasons with Head Start. She trained them all up, and then they got to go out and speak. So it's a pretty cool thing if we can fill this class.
Yeah, I took a lot of notes down, Rachel, of like, how can we use the families that you've worked with to become engaged in our own strategies of like building a parent team? And like, once those people have kind of developed the skills, how do we keep them engaged? So you'll be hearing from me.
Yeah, because that's what early care and education, right? With Jeff, you guys are really focusing on building the parent voice and that parent connect. And there's such huge crossover between those. So this is the year of the parent. We'll switch this paradigm around and start getting led by the people who are supposed to be leading us, which is the people who are experiencing whatever it is we have to offer, for better or for worse.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me today. And again, if any of you have families in mind who you think might be interested or who would be a good fit, you can email me.
Nice. Well, everybody, and Jeff, always good to see you, regardless of what time you show up. I think that's always great. I think it takes more courage to show up late than on time, honestly. do you have anything you'd like to share with us before we go our ways?
No, I just put a plug in again for Bright by Text, a text resource for families, ideas for their 0 to 8-year-olds. And you can just go to brightbytext.org. I don't have my text number right here, but I can put it on the chat. Folks can sign up, sending 406 parents to a text number I will put up shortly. Okay.
All right.
Good
Thank
to see you all as well.
Well, does anybody have any closing thoughts, comments? Well, thanks everybody. Have great months. I'll see a lot of you before next month, but for those of you I won't, and Harley, and always feel free to come back. Rachel, you as well. This is when we meet, and I think that, as we stated before, we're far. There's more than home visiting that happens inside this, and with COVID, it's changed the face of home visiting. So the bigger that circle is, the better, because all of it, and especially those legal pieces, those are huge, huge. Legal pieces and mental health supports are huge pieces that we need to move that the digits on there so that people can really get to it. So I think this is a great little group. So thank you guys, and have great days.
Hi, thanks
Thank
for having me.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.